And again, if you take us again, just because the winds keep changing, try to give us 30 seconds so we don't get the skid. And it is now jumped, those embers have jumped in 2 spots. One over here where there's one fire truck and another over there. Hey, there's like a drone, or no, bird, sorry, yeah. They like helicopters. Copy, thank you. I'm Tammy Rose in SkyEye 13 over a pipeline explosion west of Rosenberg. You can see how thick those flames are shooting up into the air about 300 feet. Pilot Tom Noda and I are monitoring this situation from about 2 miles away. We just saw our first responders try to make their way to this fire, and actually the fire looks like it's jumped to 2 different spots. So we do have first responders now trying to put out those embers that jumped. The wind keeps changing. It was out of the south, now it's out of the east at about 10 miles per hour. We're hearing that there are no injuries. This is in an isolated field, again in Willis. The only structure that we see is close. It looks like it has farm equipment. Reporting live from Sky, Tammy Rose, ABC 13 Eyewitness News. So it's on Polack Road, or the parcel is, can you see the parcels? Miles away. We're actually not 10 miles away, we are 3 miles away. Now we moved to 3 miles away because we do have a faint smell. Copy 30. Tell her we are 3 miles away, but we could see the flames from 30 miles away. No problem. Copy. Can you move so I can hear the IFV a little bit better, Tom? A little higher. Copy. No, it's exhaust off. Three away, copy. Oh no, the smoke's blowing. $10. I'm sorry, Tom. Roughly 10 minutes. Copy. Yes. That is the good news, and also those two separate grass fires he was talking about are now out. Pilot Tom Noda and I had to actually shift the helicopter because we could smell smoke from about 2 miles away, and we definitely don't want that inside our helicopter. Also, the winds keep shifting as well. As he did mention, so the closest structure, it has some farming equipment and a barn, but right to the right of it, you can see somebody's home right there. So obviously very scary, you know, for anybody that lives near this area. It did take some time before the first responders got out there. We did see 2 water trucks out there putting those flames out and making kind of a fire break so that it wouldn't spread. But you just never know with these types of fires and the winds and all that kind of thing that embers could shift. Also, we're hearing that there are no one hurt in this explosion right here, so that's also a little bit of good news. Mel? The winds now are coming out of the west, going to the east. You first might have remembered they were out of the south, blowing to the north. So it's kind of spreading this smoke all around. In fact, I'm looking out my door right here, and it looks like that smoke is approaching us. We're at about 1,000 feet high. The flames look like they're only 300 to 400 feet high, but they're very intense, very black, very thick. You see those responders there to the southwest, and those 2 water trucks that I saw, they did put out those grass fires. There's one right there. There was some embers that jumped. You can still see them putting some water there on the ground, and he was also driving around what looked like he was trying to do some sort of fire break as well to stop these embers from going anywhere else. Yeah, so this is an isolated field here, and like I mentioned, this this barn, which has some farm equipment along with the home, that looks like it's about 500-600 feet away. There's another one over here near this intersection where all the first responders are. I'll pull up SkyMap here to see it. It'll show you the road, give you a better idea where we are west of Rosenberg. And again, this is near FM 1952 and Joanne Lane in Willis. And so again, you know, avoid the area if you can. And SkyEye 13 at base, I don't know if you heard, we're going to break at 12:05 for fuel.
So you can take it at, you can start talking at any time.
Welcome in. Our breaking news coverage here on ABC 13 continues as we continue to follow this pipeline explosion here. This is on FM 1952 in Wallace, so we're just west of Rosenberg as we look at what is a natural gas line explosion, and this started at about 11 a.m. is when we first got wind of it. I'm Jonathan Bruce here in the ABC 13 newsroom. Our coverage will continue. We do have a reporter on the way, Maya Shea with ABC 13, who we will check in with here in just 1 second. I know a lot of y'all have been following this already, but a couple of things I want to do right here to kind of reset the scene is first show us where this is, and then we're going to get the latest from Tammy Rose. I've got the pin up on the screen, so you see it there just west of Rosenberg. This is on Joanne in Wallace, and that pin is really the actual address, so obviously well west of Houston. This is in Fort Bend County, and where that pin is exactly where we are located right now. As we go back to the live scene here from SkyEye, and a situation again that's been developing for at least over an hour now here in the ABC 13 newsroom, and we're going to check back in with SkyEye reporter Tammy Rose. Tammy, the fire certainly has not really quelled in the last hour or so that you've been out there.
Wow, look at those circles.
And waiting on Okay, looks like we lost Tammy for just a second. So what I will do is pull up some video for y'all and look at, kind of reset the scene here. This is a video as SkyEye was approaching. And again, you could see and smell the smoke from miles away as we get different views of it here. And SkyEye has been on the scene. I believe that we do have Tammy Rose live here now. But again, what you need to know, no injuries or structures damaged at this point. It is a very isolated area, but as you can see, a lot of that field affected, and certainly a lot of questions and concerns right now in a lot of different ways. But fortunately, an isolated area. Officials in Fort Bend County telling us that no injuries or structures damaged. And again, this is now a live look from SkyEye. Tammy Rose, this is Jonathan Bruce here in the newsroom. Can you hear me and connect okay? So we'll wait until Tammy can check in with us, just having a bit of some connection difficulties. But this technology
is there another IFB that needs to be
really just showing us the kind of location here of this and really zooming in from far out. And you can see how isolated this thing is for sure. But, you know, what's also stark is that it is such a concentrated fire and sort of source of fire. And again, it's a natural gas line that has exploded. Now there is a concern about the rest of the system out there. There's a kind of interconnected systems of these pipelines. We just talked with the Fort Bend County Office of Emergency Management, and they said that among a few of the other concerns is their biggest one right now, making sure that the rest of the pipeline is not impacted by this. They've also had to put out a couple of grass fires as well. We know what kind of conditions we have right now in Texas in terms of this drought, and you can just imagine the dangers there potentially of a fire kind of catching and spreading pretty quickly. Again, doesn't look like it at this point, but one thing we do know is just tons of smoke pouring into the air, and just this the source of it to me is so starkly kind of concentrated, and it just tells you that there was, right, an explosion of some kind sort of at that source and kind of contained to what sort of looks like a rocket ship fuel just pouring out of the ground. We are again getting a live.
a little scratchy, but we can hear you.
Live look from SkyEye. I think Tammy Rose can hear us now. We're here on ABC 13. Tammy Rose.
I can barely hear him, but when you're talking, I can't hear him. And Jonathan, I don't know if you were asking me a question, but Pilot Tom Noto and I could see these flames from about 30 miles away. And actually we got as close as 3 miles away, but we started to smell a faint fire smell, so we had to back off a little bit. As you mentioned, this is in an isolated field west of Rosenberg, south of 36 on Joanne Lane. The nearest structure about 500 feet or so away, where we saw some farming equipment along with a home. The good news, no one hurt in this blaze. There was several grass fires that were sparked that several first responders with a water truck were able to make it into the field and put those out. So that is the good news. However, the winds have been very variable. They were out of the south, out of the east, out of the west. Right now, it is out of the west blowing to the east. So as I zoom out, you'll see how much black, thick smoke is shooting up into the air. At one point, we were kind of almost flying in it. Look at that long trail there. So obviously, if you can avoid the area, if you can, stay inside. Jonathan?
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. And the officials out there in Fort Bend County obviously have said that this area is totally restricted. Can you get a sense, I mean, would this be affecting, you know, people maybe a couple of miles out just in terms of the air quality, the smoke inhalation, anything like that?
You I'm not exactly positive on that, although, we obviously have to back off. We don't want the smell of smoke inside the helicopter, but you can see just how far that trail is going. It's quite a distance. So even though this isn't an isolated area, most of the homes around here is a farming community. So I think what he was talking about, that's restricted, around that farm field, but you do have some homes, or the closest home, like I said, just west of that fire. Definitely you would want to shelter in place or not, go outside, just in case, there is any harmful chemicals in that. Again, this is a pipeline explosion. Right now you can see the first responders there to the southwest sitting there, and we've only seen about 2 fire trucks out putting out those isolated grass fires.
And last one to follow up, Tammy, I know y'all got to refuel here soon, but any sign of like what is being done to get this thing under control, or any idea here? I mean, is there another point where they're sort of trying to shut the system off? Any idea of kind of what is actively being done to get this thing out or under control as best they can?
Well, the only thing that I've seen so far is the water trucks, but at first, before they were putting the water out, it almost looked like they were trying to create a fire break. I've covered a lot of wildland fires before where they try to, cut down the brush, or actually they do burnouts. I don't know if he was trying to maybe get rid of the vegetation to stop it there. That's kind of what he looked like, what he was doing. And then we started seeing them put some water onto separate grass fires. But right now, it looks like they're just standing by there on one of the isolated roads. I'm going to bring up SkyMap here for you, for those that are not familiar with it, so you can see some of the side streets of where these fire trucks are. There's 1952, and again, this is south of Highway 36. As I zoom out, you can see there's not a lot of structures, but there is some farming homes and that type of nature out here.
Timmy Rose reporting in SkyEye as we continue our coverage here on ABC 13 of this pipeline explosion. Timmy, I'm going to pull up a couple of other different things right now. We'll sort of stay with this video feed as long as we can, as long as y'all can stay out there and stay safe up in the sky, so we appreciate it. And so again, you look at this thing burning. I just want to cycle through a couple of different updates that we got here. Again, been tracking this since about 11 o'clock. This is from the Fort Bend County Office of Emergency Management, and you see the report of the pipeline explosion between Orchard and Wallace in a field, and all of the surrounding area is restricted. They're asking to avoid the area, as you might imagine. And then we got this update from Fort Bend Precinct 1 Constable here. No structures threatened, and you can kind of see these photos from the ground and see what it looks like, and sort of give you an idea of what structures are present out there. You see some, homes that are in fairly close proximity. Obviously, you see a RV trailer there, someone's house with a garage in the right-hand part of the screen. So, an isolated area, but obviously a big concern for people sort of anywhere close to that, as we see this here. And again, just giving you an idea, an isolated area, and this is why we sort of try to, get whatever resources we can on our own, because the verbiage that you may get from Fort Bend officials, or really any officials, can only tell you so much here. And then here we got this update from Constable Chad Norville saying it is a natural gas line, no injuries or structures damaged, but it will take some time to close and burn off the area. As we go back to the feed there from SkyEye, Tammy, I was just pointing out that, you say it's an isolated area, but I was just sort of looking at some pictures, and you see it. I mean, there are certainly plenty of homes and structures and kind of, people's land and property very close to this. So you see it just, it's such a strange
Jonathan, just as you asked me that question, we were braking for fuel, but let me tell you, it does look like those flames are starting to die down. So maybe they found the source to try to shut it off. As you mentioned, those homes that we were seeing To the west, there's a home and there's also a shed with some farming equipment. I'm estimating that's about 500 feet from those flames. So even though it's in a field, obviously, you know, some scary moments when we have that big trail. But look at this, some good news. It looks like they finally found the source and are able to shut it off, and it's starting to die down on its own. Jonathan?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing as we kind of see that in real time, guys, to have that fire dissipate and really see it going back into the ground from whence it came. Feel like we're using, you know, a bit of the like Lord of the Rings language and the mountain of, you know, fires of Mount Doom and stuff, just kind of looking at that fire sort of go back down into the ground. And again, a natural gas line explosion. They've been working to get this thing under control for about an hour now. This is the video that we've gotten from a little earlier, and you know, just with the fire being out, right, doesn't mean that there are not a lot of concerns here. And certainly for one would be whoever's property this is. You can see the significant amount of burn damage there and a couple of grass fires that resulted from this. So that's just one, like the actual people's property who this is. It's an absolute nightmare. Again, certainly this is a video right from SkyEye earlier, as we put that on the screen to try to keep it clear for y'all. But certainly the individual property here, no doubt the amount of kind of smoke going through the air as that wind has continued to shift and the people really in that close proximity affected. And obviously, right, drought conditions and any impact and danger that it would have kind of stretching from there.
We can do something quick with you if you don't mind.
But it does look like that the fire, and again, this was from just a little bit earlier, the video as SkyEye is making their way back home. The fire has really gone out in the last 5 or 10 minutes or so. Again, I'll pull up this tweet from Constable Chad Norville, who said it would take some time to close the line and ultimately burn that thing off, and that really, it looks like what's happened here in the last 10 minutes or so. We now have another live look there on the ground from our ABC 13 photojournalist Damian Smith, and Maya Shea is out there as well. I was actually in the newsroom with Maya as we kind of saw this on the screens here in the newsroom live and said, man, that is, you know, a significant looking fire. And obviously, right, in these situations you want to get right on scene, because we've seen these situations before, both here in Texas, where I used to be, in Colorado, that these things can get bad very quickly when you have a gas explosion, when you have a pipeline explosion. Fortunately here, again, it looks like the most of the immediate danger has been mitigated, but certainly a lot of questions and issues. I think we've got ABC 13's Maya Shea right now. Maya, looks like things are calming down out there a little bit in terms of the actual fire.
Yeah, the fire actually ended right as I was coming on. We pulled up and you could still see the flames going, and then just as they cut off the gas line, they found out where to cut the line, and it let the fire burn itself out. So that's the situation right there. It's a fairly rural area, as you guys have been able to see on SkyEye. So what we know is there are some law enforcement on either corner of the ways of getting into this area, and they've sort of blocked off the area and weren't letting people in. But they just told me a little while ago that because the immediate danger to homes and people was already over, that they are allowing residents who did not really want to leave their home, obviously, to come back in. So just in the last few minutes, we're seeing increased traffic as the fire appears to be out. There you just saw a sheriff's truck just driving by. We're right at the edge in between Fort Bend and Austin County. So we have first responders from both counties sort of manning the area. Both counties telling me at this point that no one's injured as far as they know, and no property damage, other than obviously what you can see from the sky, which is significantly charred area. As for exactly what caused it, what kind of fix, and the amount of damage that may eventually have to be repaired, those things are too early right now. But what we do know is, by all indications, nobody was hurt, and the fire clearly just out that you were able to see live on ABC 13. So now becomes the situation where will they kind of open up the streets back up fully and allow residents to come back to their homes before they figure out exactly what happened. Hopefully the danger to the general public is non-existent at this point, and folks at least who don't own the property, who just live around the area, can get back to whatever it is they may be doing on this hot July day. Jonathan?
Maya, I'll follow up on this, and I know that you've covered a lot of these. I don't know, I'm hearing myself in the background, but
yeah, sorry, that's how the phone's working right now.
well, that's okay. I'll just say anything else here that is a concern for you. I know you've covered a lot of these. What's the big question for you going forward? I know this property owner, whoever it is going to have a lot on their hands.
Look, in our greater Houston region, over the years, we know that there are a lot of situations when it comes to flaring or other things involving petrochemical companies. We've all covered our share of explosions that tragically ended in significant injury and or deaths at plants over the years, or property damage for homes surrounding the area. So all of those things have happened in various places in our viewing area over the years. So whenever you see a fire like this that's clearly related to something industrial, in this case natural gas, you're always concerned because you want to make sure there's no homes damaged, there's no residual explosion or people's foundations shifted beneath their homes, and no lives lost and all of those things. So it is certainly justified to have a lot of response, to have roads blocked off, to make sure, double, triple check, to make sure those situations are under control and that no one's suffering anything when it comes to human life and or property before you let people go get on with their business. People are eagerly wanting to get on with their day-to-day affairs, but you want to make sure the situation is safe and better than sorry. And it's always good to take these things seriously and have everything fully evaluated before returning to normal.
It is ABC 13's Maya Shea reporting. Maya, thanks so much for that. And we're going to stay with this video feed here for a little bit. But again, as Maya said, fortunately, right, we know there can be long-term implications here. Sometimes, certainly, concerns, you know, of all different kinds. But fortunately here, at least as of now, looks like no buildings damaged, no injuries sustained, certainly major property damage out in that field specifically. But I guess the best news really here in the last 15 minutes is that that fire from what was an exploded gas line has been put out. They got that thing shut off. It was able to sort of burn out on its own. We saw it happen here live in the last 10 minutes or so. So good news really all around. We'll continue to stay with this and get updates. What will happen, you know, in situations like this is you will get a briefing at some point from Fort Bend County officials to explain a little bit more about, for one, what caused the fire. It's a big question now. What in the heck happened in the first place to have what we saw, pull it up a little bit earlier as you look at just this massive amount of fire and smoke just pouring right out of the ground, obviously from that gas line buried underneath the ground. So what happened to cause it, and how much damage was there to the property, and the status of things. But as Maya said, residents already kind of able to get back in and get back around to things, and we're staying on top of it. Really have been since about 11 o'clock. Pretty scary situation as we were first looking at it, but again, pretty, you know, good news, a bit of a luck of the draw that the explosion you know, happened. This is a look at a separate grass fire, right? A little bit of a ways away. This video from SkyEye from earlier, but that it happened where it did and not, you know, right up under or much closer to one of the homes out there or any of the properties. So again, this in Fort Bend County, west of Rosenberg on Joanne, near FM 1952 in Wallace, to be exact. Okay, that what it was to now what it is. Most things under control there in Fort Bend County. So we're going to wrap up our coverage here on ABC 13. Maya and Damien are going to stay out there and have more reports on our next newscast, which will be coming up on ABC 13, wherever you stream us. Watch us on the old television machine as well. That'll be at 3 o'clock. Maya and Damien will have more reports in terms of what happened out there. We're staying on top of it here in the meantime at ABC 13 in the newsroom. So we're going to go ahead and end our coverage. Fortunately, most things seeming to be dying down out there. So I'm Jonathan Bruce in the ABC 13 newsroom. Thanks so much for staying with us. Anytime it's breaking, we're streaming it here on ABC 13. Yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on with SkyEye or Maya with the audio stuff. I thought I had it routed all correctly.
I think you were fine. I think it was that feed just needed to switch it the mix minus so that SkyEye could actually hear you.
Okay.
Because they were coming out of the show, and I
Okay.
forgot about that.
So they just didn't switch it. And why did Maya have an echo?
That I don't know.
I had her remote one, router one.
That I don't know. We don't usually have that problem.
No.
Like I put
It
her in.
could have been that she called into like the wrong IFB, or was she in IFB
That
one?
was my only thought. I gave her IFB graphite IFB.
But she may just have like the
At
IFB
one
2
point,
number.
oops. The only one that I saw someone call into initially was News 3, but then it hung up. So that I don't know. I wasn't quite sure about that.
Okay.
But yeah, hold on.
Okay. Well, it was good otherwise.